Well, it's at that time. It is now 6 o'clock, and I know we put out the doors that open at 5:30, and we would start at 6, so that's what we're going to do. Now, there are some a little housekeeping things that I have to do here, and by the way, my name just happened to be Jim Anderson, and I am the president of the board for PUSH, and I am, just like you, a concerned citizen, and I am pleased to be here to open us up to what is the first in a long time citywide opportunity for candidates to come before us who are the citizens that have to vote. It shouldn't be that this is the first in a long time, but it is. Truth is truth. We're not mad. And by the way, every candidate, some people are saying, where's so-and-so? Did they hear? Every candidate had early opportunity, was notified early. Every candidate was notified for the opportunity to be here. Now, some did not respond. I don't know what it means, but I do think wherever the people show up, candidates should show up. And candidates need to show up collectively somewhere so that we can get a sense, what does the team look like? See, we know they have individual districts that they have to represent for, but they still have to play as a team for all of us. So make no mistake, and do not be discouraged. You're in the right place, and, stepping aside from what the sponsoring organizations would say, you're in the right place, and so should our candidates be here. Anyway, that's just personal, because all our time is important. With that said, let me give you some housekeeping information that's important. At the first, at the back of the auditorium, through the wooden doors and straight out of the building through the glass doors, you will be on Clinton Street. Now, to the right, there is a set of double doors. Yeah. To the right, there's a set of double doors, and that exit takes you to Ellicott Street. And again, from the lobby, there's a staircase that when you step out the door right to the right, it will bring you up to Washington Street. So if you need to get out, we got a lot of ways to get out, and we'll be all right, but it's important to know that. Okay, let me go a little further. This forum, it was started by tenant leaders at PUSH who wanted to create a space where candidates of the Buffalo Common Council Democratic primary for the 5 districts that are participating in the primary, North University, Maston, Ellicott, and Lovejoy, could answer residents' questions. Questions about legislation that affect all of us on a citywide level. Working with the voters to ensure the event is a nonpartisan one in its nature, and with the support of other organizations, Citizen Action of Western New York, Home Incorporated, Our City Buffalo Coalition of Partners, Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization, Justice for Migrant Workers, CEJ Buffalo, and Frontline Arts Buffalo, PUSH is proud to be able to host this event. We recognize these council seats as the powerful legislative positions that they are. And we want to know, as I'm sure you want to know, what is our future and who will be our current elected officials? What do they think about the things that are important to us? Tonight, the program will be a forum for the Ellicott District only. I want to thank those candidates for being here tonight. I'll start by mentioning Leah Halton Pope, Matt Deering, Cedric Holloway, and Eddie Egru. Since only one candidate from each of the other districts agreed to participate, this triggered the league's empty chair rule, which requires that at least 2 candidates from a race be present for the forum to take place. The candidates did agree to participate are here tonight and will be closing out after the round of questions that the league will be asking them have been answered by each of the candidates. Once we close out the forum, we welcome everyone into the lobby for a meet and greet with all candidates who are here and present tonight. Before I pass it to the league to go over the forum ground rules for candidates and audience members, I'd like to briefly acknowledge and thank the candidates that are here with us tonight, but unable to participate. And I just want to say it is important. Even though those candidates may not have anyone here that will allow them to take the stage in this forum, it's a good sign when those who want the vote of the people show up to the people. And like I said, this is the first one in a long time, and diligent work has been done. And I'll end by telling you, the same way you heard it and got yourselves here, don't think there weren't people who haven't heard it. And legitimately, there are other events going on, I know. But our expectation after tonight, when we have a citywide forum, everyone should show up that is running for office. With that said, again, I want to thank you for being here. And someone said, you look lovely, you're really powerful. And you know, people, we're moving from pain because the issues that confront us have been painful. That pain took us to the streets, into hallways. We were protesting. We moved from pain to protest, and now, you know what? In an event like this, we're moving to harness and connect together our power. This is a power moment. Make no mistake about it. I don't care if your best friend is not here, you're here, and this is a call to action. Man, you know, someone said, no justice, no peace. And I want to tell you, peace demands action. That's what we have to do. With that said, I want to turn it over. Oh. We have Spanish-speaking interpreter available. So, hey, more power to the people, making sure we all can hear. Great. So, with that said, I do want to turn it over to Ramona Gallagher. Oh, there she is. And I'm going to take my seat and do like you, listen well. Yes, don't listen to respond, listen to understand. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? If you cannot, please let me know at any time. Just wave a hand. Thank you so very much for coming out. We're just so excited about sharing tonight's forum with the groups that have so graciously invited us to join you. And with that, we're happy to have our 4 candidates who are here tonight in the order in which they will be presenting. And I'll get to some details in just a moment, but I just want to introduce them. And at this point, I would ask you just for a round of applause because they are here. So absolutely. We're going to go in the order in which they chose little numbers to start. And number 1 will be with Matt Deering. 2 is, I'm sorry, I can't even read my own writing here. Cedric Holloway, Eddie Egru, and Ms. Leah Halton Pope. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Close enough. Thank you very much. So with that, again, thank you very much. Jim gave such a warm welcome. You know, we paid him a lot for that, to come and do that. But my name is Ramona Gallagher. I'm a longtime volunteer with the local League of Women Voters, Buffalo Niagara, and I'm delighted to be here, as I said. We have the 4 candidates from the Ellicott Buffalo Common Council District primary for the Democratic Party nominee for November election. Of course, the primary is coming up in June, this month, the 27th. These candidates are here to share what they feel they want to share with you. So this is a dialogue basically between the candidates and the audience. So although you may not have give and take, this is not a debate. We have lots of questions which you've generously sent us, so we will be doing as many as we can within the time allowed. Each candidate will be asked the same question, and the good news is it will be directed solely to Ellicott District in this case, so that can be somewhat a little bit more specific. And again, we thank so much PUSH and everyone who has sponsored this event. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League works to influence public policy through education and advocacy, much like most of you out there in the audience. The League also moderates candidates' forums, but that's only one of our many functions. Others, of course, include voter registration and whatever is related to that. Membership is open to everyone, 16 years and up. So if you want to learn more about the League, you can go to our website, which is lowercase lwvbn.org. Now, the ground rules for the candidates' forums, of course, we have a lot of them, and the candidates have been informed of those in advance. The League of Women Voters, as Jim told you, will not permit substitutes for candidates at the forums conducted by the League. A candidate must be present. If a candidate cannot attend, he or she may submit a brief statement that explains his or her absence to be read by the moderator. Fortunately, we only had one that said he couldn't be here, and that was Mr. Golumbek. Other than that, we had not had any responses. Presentations should be strictly confined to issues, not personalities. The candidates drew numbers, and as I said, they will speak accordingly. Election material should not be in this room, but hopefully you brought it, and it will be outside in the lobby. A table has been provided for that purpose. We will go for approximately an hour. We're very respectful of your time, and we do wish, really, that we had the others to go further. But we will be somewhat flexible because we know you came to hear folks talk about what they want to do for the betterment of our city. So you're welcome, as Jim mentioned, to mix and mingle after the event until 8 o'clock when this will end. Now, we also welcome the following, Jim has mentioned the candidates who have come that you can mix and mingle with. You can see he did a lot of what I thought I would do. PUSH will make the only authorized recording of this event. It will be posted in its entirety on the League's YouTube shortly after this event. Only the licensed media, including TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled to air a portion of the recording in keeping with federal communication regulations. All others who air this recording may do so only in its entirety. Please, no one is permitted to publicly display edited footage, comments by opponents, or paraphrase quotes in any manner. That's our reason for keeping this honest, transparent, and you hear what you hear, and that's the way we like it. We request that the audience members turn off your cell phones, for those who might have come in a little later, and keep them turned off during the event. We expect that you will be attentive, civil, and make no responses to what the candidates say, whether or not you agree with them and their views. We also request that you refrain from applause until the forum is completed. We seek to provide all candidates with the greatest amount of time to respond to audience questions. I'm going to introduce the format for tonight's forum, and with that, introduce our timekeeper tonight. Our League President, Lori Robinson, if you'll stand, is our timekeeper. And she's going to show us what she will do as a person is speaking or completing your speech. She will raise a green card when the speaker has 1 minute left, a yellow card when there are 15 seconds, and a red stop card when time has elapsed. Now, if you're in the middle of a sentence, when that red card goes up, we'll allow you to end right there. If not, we get the hook and we get you right off the stage. But not really. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Biographical sketches and a platform outline are usually presented. Now, the questions, each candidate shall have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. It's not a lot of time, but you'd be surprised how much you can get in that time. We will be asking written questions submitted by members of the audience group who've already submitted some. And I'd like to introduce Deborah Cohen, who is, where does Deborah go? Oh, right here. Sorry. So busy, the lights. Deborah Cohen, who has been sort of looking at the questions, making sure we don't have any repetition, that there's no vulgarity or just inappropriate questions that might be asked. So we will keep that straight. The questions must be directed to each candidate. So every question we ask, each candidate will answer that same questions. And it will be asked in rotating order. So we will start shortly with Mr. Deering and proceed, and then the second person will start and it will rotate around. And then there will be 2 minutes for a closing statement to summarize thoughts or reiterate points brought forth during the meeting. Now, the forum is designed, as I said, to be a dialogue between our speakers tonight and you. So we appreciate your close attention. And with that, again, I have Mr. Matt Deering, Mr. Cedric Holloway, Mr. Eddie Egru, and Ms. Leah Halton Pope. So, and for the candidates, I will be happy to repeat any question if you need me to do so when it's your turn to respond. It's important that each one uses only as much time as needed to respond to the questions. We can move on right to the next person without any introduction. And we may have a few glitches in the beginning, but we'll get it straight. So at this time, I'm going to proceed with the opening statements, and we will start with Mr. Matt Deering. So hopefully your mic is on, Mr. Deering.
Let's check. Seems like it's working. Okay, good.
So you have, now the time will start for your opening statement. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramona. Thank you to Push and the League for organizing this event. The League's mission of increasing civic participation, engagement, and push for good government are issues very near and dear to my heart and are some things that motivated me to run in this race. My name is Matt Deering. I'm a 24-year resident of the Ellicott District. I grew up just about a block from Main Street, the line that divides both halves of our city racially, economically, socially. And over the course of that 24 years, I've had an up-close and personal view of how the city's changed, how it hasn't, the people and the places that have been left behind. After I came back from college, like many people in this district and across this city, I worked late-night shifts in Buffalo's call centers before I got tired of it, and some friends opened a door for me to get involved in politics. And for the last 6 years, I've worked as a campaign staffer, grassroots organizer, and as a director of community relations in the New York State Assembly. The experiences that I've had both through my life and in my professional career, I think prepare me uniquely to take on the challenge that will be writing the course of the Ellicott District over the next 4 years, and hopefully setting a road that goes forward where we can finally bring equity to a part of the city that's been neglected for far too long. Issues that are important to me are issues that are important, I think, to everybody on this stage and everybody in this city. Affordable housing, job creation, business district development, and a fair deal for the East Side. Thank you.
Great day to you all, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Cedric Holloway, and I'm running to be the next Ellicott District Council member. I was born on Johnson Street, little house not far from here. Raised on Humboldt Parkway, not far from here in a little house, and then I bought my own house right here in the Ellicott District. I've been in the Ellicott District my entire life. Service is absolutely in my blood. I'm the director of the Johnny B. Wiley Sports Pavilion, and if you know anything about it, you know how much We come through for the community, and I do that on a voluntary basis because of the fact that I am deeply in tune with my community. So it is not a far reach for me to volunteer and provide for my community. I'm here to run for Ellicott District Councilman's office. I want to better the basics. I was watching the Jackie Robinson movie, and the coach was telling Jackie Robinson about the word sympathy, and he said it's a Greek word meaning to suffer. So being a lifelong resident in Ellicott District, I can sympathize with the needs of the district because I've suffered those needs as well. So my goal is to improve our district, my district I've lived in, worked in, and raised my family in. And I'm running to be the next Ellicott District Councilman's office.
Test. Hello, everybody. Thank you to the Women's League. Push. I love you guys. I was the third man on the crew back in 2006 and 7. I am so proud of you. I'm the candidate for the Ellicott District. We're talking about affordable housing. I've been doing that. We talk about building small businesses. I've been doing that. We talk about what's needed for the community. I'll tell you what's needed. We need quality. We need quality of life. We need them in the East Side, which I lived there for 33, 34 years, that I've seen every child come through. I've taken kids off the streets, brought them into the time back in the days it was with Push. We created trades for them. We trained them. We paid them to learn. And today, 85% of them are still working. This is what I've done. There's a lot more that needs to be done. Jefferson Avenue is abandoned. It's been abandoned. We finally got a little attention there because of what? We lost some lives. Well, we should have paid attention to Jefferson Avenue a long time ago. I have been rebuilding Jefferson Avenue, starting from corner of Jefferson Avenue, go straight through to the other side of South Division in Jefferson, and you will find more than a dozen businesses that I helped create. And I'm looking forward to make Jefferson Avenue thrive, just like Elmwood, like Hurdle Avenue. I want to bring its history back. I want to bring jazz back. And the only guy that can do it on this table is me. The experience is there, and I know how to do it. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Leah Halton Pope, and I am running to represent you here in the Ellicott District. I have, for the last 10 years, served as senior advisor to Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes. Prior to that, I've worked on President Obama's campaign. I've worked for a nonprofit organization that's focused solely on girls and women and empowerment. And I'm running to represent our vast district. The Ellicott District itself has recently, as you know, undergone redistricting. It is a microcosm of our city, our state, and frankly, this country. It looks just like it. It is very diverse. We are from different socioeconomic, ethnic, faith, and religious backgrounds. We are homeowners, we are renters, we are lifelong residents, we are new Americans and new Buffalonians. And this district requires somebody with experience. For the last 10 years, I've written laws on behalf of the majority leader that directly impact the lives of the constituencies that I hope to serve. What matters most is experience, and you need to have relationships to get things done. And so I am running to be that voice, to work in collaboration with you all as residents for a better Buffalo, a better Ellicott District. I believe we can be a beacon of light for the rest of the city and hopefully the state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate those opening comments. Just one editorial comment here. Apparently, there are a lot of people recording, and I just want to remind you that we would ask that you not record. So we appreciate your indulgence on that. All right, now we'll begin with some of our questions, starting with, and again, we will begin with you for this. What are the one or two most urgent concerns you have about the Ellicott District, and how would you address those? Thank you. And the same question will be asked of each. And again, we'll just go by the time and we can speed it up if when one finishes, one begins. Thank you.
I think the first is a lack of affordable quality housing. And I think the second is a lack of access to fresh and healthy food. The first, like any problem in the city or in the country, requires a sort of multi-pronged approach to actually tackle. You need to both pass laws or opt into laws that have been on the books for several years now that would allow us to create a rental board of governors that would, potentially open up the ability for the city to implement rent control and further tenant protections. There's a bill that was passed in 2019 called the Emergency Tenant Protection Act. The council has sat on their hands on that for the last almost 4 years now. And that's a trend with the current council and councils past, is that they often abdicate their responsibility and refuse to use the power that they've been given by the city charter to actually pass laws and implement policy. The second, on food, is again requires a comprehensive strategy. The city and the Ellicott District in particular are littered with vacant lots, and the Vacant Land Task Force has come up with several good uses for those, including creating more community-directed gardens. There are also some laws on the books in the city that make it hard for food that's grown and produced in the city to be sold to residents in the city. So I believe we need to get rid of the red tape that prevents those merchants from being able to sell their goods. Thank you.
Same question.
Thank you. I believe first the most important, one of the most important things is fair and equitable development throughout the entire district. When our tops went down on Jefferson, we had to be bused to another part of the city in order to shop. If tops on Elmwood went down, they would go across the street to Aldi's or around the corner to Wegmans. I think that Jefferson Avenue has been neglected. I'm there every day, and I've seen exactly what non-attention has been given to that area. It really does need, and I know the state and the federal government has promised to help us develop, but that place has been neglected. And a lot of folks whose doors I've been knocking on say the same thing, saying that why are they not developing our neighborhood, and why is downtown getting all the attention? The other thing is vacant lots. As I mentioned, going door to door, a lot of people are concerned with the number of vacant lots. I think we should flip those lots, turn them into Habitat for Humanity homes, give the families an opportunity to increase generational wealth by building low-cost, affordable family homes. That's two of the biggest things that I think are important, as well as community development.
I echo a lot of the stuff you said about Jefferson Avenue. They used to call me Eddie Jefferson back in the days when I started redeveloping Jefferson. Then my name turned to Eastside Eddie, because my concern is the East Side. It's not just Jefferson Avenue. We have neglected that community as far as I could remember, and we're still neglecting it. Those empty lots, without a plan, we shouldn't be doing nothing. We don't have no plan. There's no set drawings of what we should do to this district. And the only way we can draw that area is by listening to the people in that area. Those empty lots are just sitting there, the grass is growing, and the neighborhood is looking like crap. I'm going to do my best to make sure at least they're maintained until we decide what to do with them. Affordable housing, like I said, I've been doing that. But affordable, smart housing needs to be done. Energy smart. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done on the east side. Their utility bills are higher than anybody else in Western New York. Their heating bills is skyrocketed because those homes have no insulation. None. There is no energy smart homes in the east side. So I'm going to work on things like that. I'm going to coordinate with groups like PUSH and take somebody advantage of some of their knowledge and what they've done and what they're doing, and I'm going to spread that further into my district. Thank you.
So I think the issues of Ellicott, they're three-pronged in my opinion. I think housing, as it relates to housing, those homeowners who live in Ellicott want to make sure their property taxes stay at a reasonable amount. I think if you're a renter, you want your rent to stay reasonable so you can stay in your home and stay in your community. Neighborhood stabilization is critical to building and rebuilding the Ellicott district, and that comes from supporting our small businesses and creating business development, not just on Jefferson, but throughout the entire district. That includes Genesee, that's Jefferson, and that's also building up and supporting our businesses on Elmwood. Then there's also the issue of sidewalks and streets and curbs. These are what the constituencies that I'm speaking to every day are saying that are important to them. Then people just want to make sure that they can live in their homes, they can stay where they are, and that they're safe where they are. And I feel like stabilizing our neighborhoods is the critical piece to that. And that would ensure that our homeowners are where they are, that will ensure that our renters can stay, that will ensure that our children are well taken care of, that will ensure that there's safe food to eat, healthy foods to eat. And there are some really successful businesses throughout the Ellicott district, both east and west of Maine, that can provide those services. I just think they need, one, the exposure, and two, the opportunity to provide it for our community and support from government to do so. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next question has to do a little bit with public safety and transportation, and that is, being that 30% of Buffalo does not have cars, as per the 2020 census, and roughly 15% of Buffalo uses bikes for their main mode of transit, what will you do to improve biking safety and transit quality in Buffalo and Erie County? And we'll start this time with Mr. Howlett.
I think Buffalo is transforming into a bike city, a biking city, friendly city as well. I acknowledge all the markings and such that have been added to the streets. We have to absolutely be able to make it safe for our bicyclists as well, especially considering the fact that it's a primary mode of transportation for our citizens. Again, we have to be able to provide some safety with regards to biking and pedestrians and motorists. That's not easy. You can't make a motorist be more careful. We have to bring awareness to our bicyclists. More help with regard to the state and transportation as well helps us identify biking lanes as well, which helps a lot because the bikes do share the road with our motorists. And designated biking lanes are a big help, I think, as well.
Well, I love what the biking industry has done to Western New York, Buffalo lately. But it's difficult to bring it to us for some reason, or they haven't even brought it forth to us here in the eastern side of Buffalo. Safety. Without safety, I think it's going to be difficult to take care of that. So safety is the #1 concern in my district. And I know it's the same thing in other districts, but especially on the east side. To ride a bike on the east side, the way it is, the way the streets, potholes, the sidewalks, it ain't gonna happen that quick. But we gotta address those things first. Like I said, we need a general plan. I'm a designer, I'm a builder. I know how to build things with low cost. I know how to accomplish what we need. There's a lot more that I can talk about. Our time does not give us that much time. But we have had people there representing us for years. And now they want to continue to represent us in my district. Please choose carefully who's coming to this game. I think it's time for all new faces. I see 4 right there that could bring change. Choose who you're looking at. Don't let those that have been running the show continue running it because we have gotten nothing out of them. Thank you.
So as it relates to biking and public transportation, I think obviously infrastructure is critical to that, making sure our roads are safe for our bicyclists. But I also think we have to acknowledge those businesses who have chosen to expand themselves into the Ellicott District, like Go Bike, like other organizations that are already working with Slow Roll and the Eastside Bike Club. These organizations have highlighted the need for better roads and better safety, and I want to applaud them for the work that they've done in our community. I think the best thing that we can do to help encourage that and build out is to make sure that those roads are as safe as humanly possible, without necessarily taking away from those motorists, so that they're safe as well too. I don't want us to be hurt in any way. I don't want drivers to accidentally hurt a bicyclist, so we need the roads to be clearly identified at all times. And we probably need to do a better job of highlighting where those roads, they need to be repaved occasionally, repainted, so those individuals can go. And then we can't take away from public transportation. People still take buses. And the fact that NFTA has cut some of the bus routes or is planning to is disturbing. And so the constituencies that I've talked to them, both the east and west of Maine, that's something that's important to them as well. Not everybody does ride bikes, and so we need to also consider those who are in transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move to education.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Could I say my
knew this
piece?
would happen. Last but not least, yes.
I would say, other than the urban renewal project that really decimated large portions of the east side in the post-World War II period, that the destruction of Buffalo's, what was a premier public transit system with our regional streetcar system, is possibly one of the greatest errors that's ever been made in the history of this city. And as a result, we now live in a city that's overwhelmingly car-dependent, where something like 70% of jobs are not accessible easily by public transit. So, of course, making sure that both public transit and bike infrastructure are not just maintained, but upgraded and made more integral to transit across the region are vital if we want Buffalo to become a modern, state-of-the-art city. You know, you should not have to have a car to get to the grocery store. You should not feel scared riding a bike on a city street here. You know, we need more protected bike lanes. We need to better integrate those protected bike lanes that already exist, along with transit routes, with both the NFTA and the bike routes that organizations like Go Bike are working to create as we speak. Again, this is not an ethereal concept. We don't just have to talk about businesses and plans, these vague ideas. There are real solutions that we can implement as a city if the council is willing to get behind them and force the hand of some of the other folks in this city who don't seem to think that these issues are very important. Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll move next with Mr. Eager. Sorry. All right. To education. City funding to Buffalo Public Schools has failed to keep up with the inflation over the past 12 years, and as a result, the district struggles financially. At the same time, funding to police has increased substantially. What will you do to prioritize educational attainment in the city of Buffalo? Mr. Eager.
You know, education is something that we all want to see our children be taught the right things. And our school system is a failure. Why? Because our society has been a failure. Why? Because we haven't been doing the right thing, which is my generation hasn't been doing the right thing. We lost value of what family values are. We're not handling the children like we should be. Our schools are in chaos because most of our kids don't have two parents. We're missing programs that are very important for the children, just like the same ones that we had. We had shop, whether it was electric, whether it was carpentry or cooking a little thing, something we had. But today we're facing a different crisis. Majority of the people today are stressed out. But we're forgetting that our little children are stressed out. Our schools need programs. Same thing like the police force needs programs. Programs to deal with stress, to deal with children that are not able to cope with what is happening at home or what is happening in the school. Bullying is a big thing. Our schools are ignoring it. So, wake up, America. Not just Connecticut, but my Ellicott. Wake up, America. We have to do something for our children.
Thank you. So I think with the city budget, if I'm correct, I believe they get about $71 million in the budget for Buffalo Public Schools. However, the city council does not have much say in what happens with that money that we give to public schools. And by we, I mean we, the taxpayers. I believe the Common Council should have a greater say on return on our investment. Our children are our future. They are truly our lifeline. They are what will take us to the next level, and so we need to invest in them and in their future. Working with the Buffalo Public Schools, it's my understanding that they have not necessarily requested additional funding officially under the previous administration. I'm not sure about the current one. And so I believe we should support them. And as it relates to where those funds come from, that comes from open dialogue and having conversations prior to the budget process, how those resources will be spent. I believe the city council should focus on garnering more resources, but also demanding a little bit more of input in how those resources are spent, so that it's going towards education as opposed to just padding certain pockets. Our teachers need support, our students need support, and that doesn't happen if we don't have a say. And so I'm all for increasing in resources, but with the understanding that there has to be some accountability to how that money is being used.
So, to echo some of Ms. Halton Pope's comments, it's true that the council doesn't have too much say over the day-to-day operations of the school district. We have, thankfully, over the past couple of years, finally, after lots of fighting, received full state funding, what's more commonly called foundation aid. There had been a lot of hang-ups and fights about that, but Governor Hochul, the past couple of years has been able to provide that to us, and I hope that that will make a big difference going forward. The point was made in the question about the police budget versus schools. And while it's true that the Buffalo Public Schools may not have requested more funding, a budget is a document that is a statement of priorities. And if we believe that, for instance, that it's worth spending $500,000 on a armored bobcat to move cars during a snowstorm instead of giving that money to the school system, I think it's absurd. So I think leaning on the new relationship that I believe exists between the council and the school board, I know that there's now a liaison that exists between the council and the school board. I think strengthening that relationship, leaning on that liaison, who I believe is Cindy McEachin, to work more closely between the school board and the council, I think will help to achieve some of those goals in an educational context. But many of the issues that arise in schools don't start at schools. Schools are one of the critical building blocks to a civil society, and we have to do the rest so schools can thrive. Thank you.
I believe there needs to be a partnership between the city as well as school boards. Plain and simple, Michael Jordan needed help. We need to partner with the Buffalo schools. I've got a mentoring program. I've had a mentoring program for over 23 plus years. Very proud of the students that come out of my program. These are the students that you pass on the way inside the library. Same kids. All we need is to have a different and better approach with our children. When the president came, one of my kids who lived on Sumner Street was one of the Secret Service agents. And I saw her, I said, "Can I give you a Secret Service agent a hug, please?" Because I was so excited to see one of my kids from Sumner, from this community, do well. And that was because of a different approach. We need to figure out best practices, examine other school systems, figure out how they are successful. I'm successful because I've got a great mentoring program, and we put out diamonds but from how you get diamonds is the pressure. And I think we apply pressure, but we apply the love as well. And again, it's all about partnership. If we partner with our school board, we absolutely can create a better product.
Thank you. And moving on now, one having to do with climate. How would you define environmental racism, and how do you see it manifesting in the Ellicott District, in Buffalo in general, and our wider region? And we'll start with Ms. Halton Pope.
So one of the biggest issues that we've had runs right through the middle of the city of Buffalo. The 33 literally split up an entire community. And that's probably one of the biggest issues that I can see right now, where a community was completely divided. You've got 70,000 cars that drive down the 33 every single day, creating all kinds of health challenges to the communities that are there right in Ellicott. And as far as environmental justice goes, covering that space, that place, and bringing it back and reconnecting those communities and creating a green space, I believe is what we need to help. One of the things we can do to help restore our community and bring it back to where it should be, providing cover and comfort to those families who've been sick for years. We've also found out that because our communities don't have access to a lot of the resources that some of our suburban neighbors have, they don't have the same opportunities to live healthier and fuller lives. And that comes from not just our air quality and climate, but also just access to healthier foods, because it just doesn't exist at the moment. And I think we can do a better job in supporting a project in particular. I mean, in our office, we focused on recovering our community, the 33.
Robert Moses built the 33 expressly for racist reasons. It wasn't just to be a convenient thoroughfare from downtown Buffalo to the airport. He was a racist, the power broker. And now many people in power are asking us to be satisfied with a cap on the 33 instead of filling it in and creating a public transit system that removes the need to bring that many cars into the city at all. We're feeling the effects of environmental racism today in the Ellicott District as the smoke pours in across the border from Quebec. You know, it's not safe really for anybody to be outside, but if you look at the rates of asthma, COPD, all these other respiratory illnesses in the shadow of the 33, they're disproportionate. It's extremely dangerous for those people today. Think about the fact they don't have air filters in their homes. They're even inside, they're in danger right now. So I think eventually, back to the piece about the streetcar system, creating a public transit system that can supplant the need for that highway and eventually allow us to fill it in, as some cities like Rochester have done recently with the inner loop, is really the answer that we need to start, to fight some of this here locally. Thank you.
My father owned the home on Humboldt Parkway prior to them digging it up. And I think it was an atrocity for them to be able to dig up a parkway. Mind you, we had several parkways that were designed by Frederick Law Olmsted as well. You wouldn't see them digging up Bidwell, absolutely.
No, of course not.
But they dug up Humboldt Parkway. Why? And look at the homes that are around it, right? Absolutely intentional. I think it's an atrocity to have that done to our community. It was a wonderful parkway that connected the different parkways, and I played in Humboldt Parkway regularly, and I never really fathomed what was there before until I see old pictures, and of course my father's got some old photos of all the trees that were there. Mm-hmm. Like, they really did that to that parkway in that neighborhood. That was intentional, and it serves as an exodus for folks to get back to the suburbs. Ridiculous, right? So, what are you going to do? They're going to cap it over. I agree. Why not fill it in? Make increase the home value in that neighborhood by having a parkway in front of it, right? Instead of an expressway. It seemed like a concrete jungle there. I looked out my front window and saw a concrete wall across the street and heard the cars going through, even at nighttime, in the trucks. I think it was a sin, and I still think it's a sin for them to be able to do that to a neighborhood.
I've been talking about this issue a very long time. I addressed some of the climate things that we need to do is we need smart homes, bring some energy and stop this fossil fuel going on around there. But 33, not only 33, 198, Homestead Park should come back completely like it was. None of that should exist, none of that. They took away such a beautiful neighborhood, destroyed it. It makes me sick every time I look at a picture that looks at the highway and looks at the two different neighborhoods. No cap, 9 blocks for $1 billion. Her office is part of that $1 billion project, okay, to put a cap on it. I want to stop that $1 billion, and I want to take it and I want to put it into the community. I think we need to cover it. I think we need to take that money, and I know I can cover it for about $300 million, and I can take $700 million, and not only I can fix Jefferson Avenue, I could also help my neighbor fix 198, get rid of that too. We don't need them the way they need us. They're coming through our neighborhoods and not even shopping here. Coming in, getting out, taking our tax dollars, not buying gas, not doing none of that. So why are we providing another community assets that we don't get? Like he said, let's build a railway. They want to come here, let them pay, get in, and let them pay to get out.
I appreciate your passion and your interest. I really do. But I would just ask that you refrain, if you can. I know these are really critical issues, but it just takes up a little time, so we'll move along with more questions. Thank you. Okay, Benjamin, you're up. Go ahead.
I think we need the next
I
question.
think we're done.
Back to the next
Yeah.
question. Yes. Okay, let's get back on track here. What do you plan to do to make sure landlords and property owners are responsible for the health and sustainability of their rental spaces? And kind of along with this, how do you plan on protecting tenants during the ongoing housing crisis here in Buffalo, New York?
As I think I mentioned in my first answer, I think, again, the council and the mayor's office both refuse to use their power or enforce the laws that are already on the books. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And if we continue to go around the same carousel, nothing is going to change. What I think we need to do first and foremost is conduct a vacancy study that would allow us to opt into the Emergency Tenant Protection Act. It was expanded to apply to upstate cities in 2019 and would allow us to implement both tenant protections and rent control that would help to keep people in their homes as they're currently trying to be pushed out. When it comes to landlords, I think we need more employees in the Office of Permits and Inspections. We need to work to streamline, work with the state, whatever we got to do to streamline the court process to allow these people to get into these properties quicker so they can actually see what the problems are inside. There's a manpower problem. We need to fill the gap there. The other is that I believe we need a rental registry that both lists landlords and all the properties that they own so that consumers can make informed decisions on who that they're going to be renting from. And then, frankly, I think the city needs to start looking at both bad landlords, absentee landlords, and people who are holding on to viable vacant property and find a legal way to get that property out of their hands and put it in the hands of people in this city so that they can create and generate an asset for themselves and their families.
I believe that, and he mentioned earlier, the registration, that's a big thing. We do have a department in City Hall that inspects houses, but there's only four inspectors for 40,000 homes. That's ridiculous, and I believe 3 of them are on ARP funds as well. So you'll have one individual inspecting 40,000 homes. That's ridiculous. One issue is lead. There is a program that helps landlords abate lead. It's $3 million that's been given to HUD, but this year I believe there's been 2 applications for it. There's no one, something's going on in City Hall that we need to pay attention to. Someone's dropped the ball on that, because if I can abate the lead in my rental apartment and prevent this lead poisoning and get help to do it, that's great. But it's not being implemented. Something's going on. Someone's dropped the ball. So we need to be able to have the inspectors inspect through the registration, as well as help the homeowners and the landlords abate the lead, which is causing issues with lead, because the damage is irreversible but avoidable.
It's not only tenants that need to be protected, it's the old homeowners that need to be protected. People that have been living in their homes 20, 30, 40 years that come from my community, especially on the east side, they don't get no help. They have a 2-family home. They've been just, as you know, these homeowners don't really get a lot of rent. So there's no programs available for them. Meanwhile, we got programs available for all of these other guys and girls that are building these complexes without affordable housing, that are getting tax benefits and all that. Where's the tax benefits for the homeowners that have been there? Where's the tax deduction for the senior citizen that wants to keep their home? Where's the heating system for those homes and those tenants that everybody else seems to get? There's no programs available. He just said 2 people applied for the lead. I've been a lead advocate for a long time. You know, we have 40,000 homes in Buffalo alone that have lead pipes going through their housings. And even though you don't have lead pipe in your house is being mixed with lead. These are issues that we have to address. Absentee landlords, we should definitely go after them and target them hard. Landlords that are taking advantage of their tenants, that are not fixing their properties right, we should definitely go after them. Inspection department, believe me, I've been dealing with them for years. And it is one of the first things I'm going to jump on to make sure that not only those that are violating, but those that need help should get help.
I think as it relates to tenants and landlord issues, as far as housing goes in general, obviously the city has inspectors. It is atrocious that we only have so few people to handle so much for the inspections of these properties, and that should be dealt with immediately. But I also think you have to expose bad actors in a way that creates meaningful change, and I think you do that by invoking and using what's currently available to us. I agree with these gentlemen, those who've said that we need to use the policies on the state level that are already afforded to us as constituencies, for tenants, and frankly, for landlords. As my other colleague mentioned, there are some senior citizens who are homeowners who do need some protection. I'm not taking anything away from them, because we've written laws, I've written them on behalf of my current boss, that would allow in a certain community for property taxes to be capped so that they don't get moved out of that. I think where we can be more successful in protecting our tenants is just holding people accountable, whether through the AG, through the city, through the state, or the county, and exposing the inequities that are happening for renters. I don't want to live in a place where I can't come home. Nobody should live like it's happening right now in Elmwood Heights. That's a deplorable condition. And I would like to see that changed, but that only happens if we have a place for those individuals to go as well. Thank you. Sorry.
I am appreciative that we're approaching 7 o'clock, and I will adhere to your wishes. Would you like to continue for a few more questions? We do have the time, and I think that would be very good. Okay. All right. We will take maybe 2 more questions and then allow them closing statements, because we do want you to have the opportunity to mix and mingle. Yes. So we still have another 15 minutes anyway, right? Very good. Okay, we'll continue on. All right, our next one has to do with immigration. Immigrant communities of color face risks from policing that are both shared and also unique within Buffalo. One example of this is that license plate readers in Buffalo, which have been disproportionately placed in Buffalo's black neighborhoods, currently directly share information with Border Patrol and ICE, Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. What is one step that you would take to protect immigrant communities in Buffalo from the risk of deportation and immigrant detention?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I am the director of the Johnny B. Wiley Sports Pavilion, and it's done voluntarily. So, in that area alone, we've got such an influx of international residents. Absolutely, we have to absolutely reach out to these individuals because a lot of them don't know what they don't know. And with regards to immigration rules and things of that nature, it's up to us as a city of good neighbors to be able to let them know exactly what their options are and what they're supposed to and not supposed to be doing. We just had an Eid celebration where we had several individuals come through, and it was something to see them just take in the new surroundings, if you will. I think we need to pay a little more attention to our immigrants in our neighborhoods, allow them the opportunity to get right, if you will, and in order to do that, they've got to be informed. We've got to inform them exactly what their rights are, what their options are, and the opportunities that also are there for them, us as the city of good neighbors.
I'm an immigrant. We have to protect them. Why are we not even opening the door for them right now with the crisis going on, especially downstate in New York City? Where's the immigrants that are here legally and waiting to find out whether they could stay or not? Why haven't we opened those doors? And we're talking about this city is becoming more diverse. I hate to say this, but I've been working with these communities for quite a while. When it started in 1999, the Kosovo War, Milosevic, a lot of immigrants migrated here. Iraq and all that. I worked with the International Institute. Today I work with the new Bangladesh community, and I work proudly with them. I know what their causes are. I know what their needs are. And these immigrants didn't come here to take anything away from us. They came here for freedom. They came here to make a life. They work together. They live in one house to save the few dollars so that they could move on and raise their children. None of these three people know the communities like I do. None of these people know the diversity that I deal with, whether it's the West Side, East Side, Amherst, Tonawanda, you name it. I've been working with these diversity all my life. And you don't want to know the best part of that I love is diversity. When we learn to accept each other, who we are and what we are, and love each other from where we come from, we're all going to have the kind of life we want for our children. Diversity is the answer. Thank you.
I believe because Buffalo, specifically the Ellicott District, has so many new Buffalonians and new Americans, it's our job to welcome them and to embrace them. Your question specifically was, what will you do for the immigrant community to keep them from being deported? And I believe, to the best of our ability, and though this is a federal issue, it would require a city council person who can work with the federal government and advocate on behalf of those immigrants who are in our community to allow them, to help them to stay. I do believe that there are some cultural competency issues that we need to work on across the board, both on our side as long-term residents and for those who are just moving into our community, to understand what their needs are, communicating with them in languages that they understand. I think that means we need to strengthen those organizations who are currently in our city, the International Institute, Journeys In, Vive, who are supporting these new Americans, making sure that they have the resources and access to those who can help them navigate the legal process so that they can stay here if they want to. This is Buffalo, and we are, as my opponents have said, the city of good neighbors, but it's important about how we go about supporting them, and goodwill and good thoughts are not enough. We need to provide resources and access. Thank
Thank you.
That's true. Goodwill and thoughts aren't enough. Advocacy isn't enough, and being a city of good neighbors isn't good enough. How about we just be a sanctuary city of good neighbors and stop giving this information to INS and ICE altogether? Just pass the law. Just pass the law. It's that easy. Now, there's a lot of truth to some of what everybody said. There are certainly some issues when it comes to integration of communities, particularly on the east side. It's something that I've heard both from people who are new Americans and both from people who are longtime legacy residents. And it requires somebody who's willing to bring those groups of people together and with an ability to speak across the divide. Now, I know Eddie said that nobody knows diversity like he does, but growing up, I grew up on both sides of Main Street. I went to school, with a lot of the folks whose kids came out of the Elmwood Village, new portions of the district, and then my friends were people, one of whom just walked in, who grew up on the east side of Main Street. So my whole life has been speaking across that divide, bridging communities. And I think for that reason, nobody could do it better than I could. But no, I think, again, we need concrete solutions, not vapid platitudes. So if we just implement a sanctuary city policy, the issue with INS and license plate readers is off the table. Thanks.
Okay, what is one failure of this city's government, and how will you address it? If you can just pick one failure that maybe is your pet failure. Is there such a thing? I don't know. But what if you could pick one failure?
For how many years are you asking the question? The east side. That's all I have to say.
I feel one of the biggest failures we've done is not communicating with one another. When we have an issue that comes up, sometimes things are addressed, but we don't do exhaustive communication to our constituencies. And I really feel that as a Common Council member representing the district, that's my priority, to make sure that my constituency understands what the laws are, what changes are happening. When there's a redistrict, I found some people didn't even know that they were living in Ellicott because we're not communicating properly. Figuring out how, making sure that we do exhaustive communication with the constituencies here on every issue, be it healthcare, education, infrastructure, road work, whatever is necessary to make sure our city moves forward. I think we can do a better job of that, and we haven't.
I'm shocked that it took 3 people to mention the fact that just 6 months ago, 31 people in this city died as a result of a total and complete failure of every level of government in this region. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. The blizzard of Christmas of 2022, in my lifetime certainly, is the biggest failure of government, and it is a purely governmental failure. A refusal to avail ourselves of the emergency alert system, a refusal over the course of an administration that has lasted nearly 20 years to get with the times on snow removal. We live in the city that is, what are we known for in Buffalo? Losing 4 Super Bowls, Josh Allen, and snow. And we were embarrassed on the international stage 6 months ago because of the failures of local government. So I think that that's ultimately the answer. There are plenty of solutions that we can implement. There are cities all across the world, one not too far from here up in Montreal, Canada, that has a much more modern strategy for snow removal. It's not that modern. The snowblower was invented something like 80 years ago. But maybe we could stop trying to push snow around and actually try to remove it from our neighborhoods. That way people can continue to traverse the city. I think there was a big push for a sidewalk snow removal program. Nobody took any action on that in the city council, and that's one thing I'd really like to push for going forward.
I think there's a couple of things. First of all is the abandonment of Jefferson Avenue. I think the city just neglected that whole street. That strip was rich at one time. I went to the movies on Jefferson at the Apollo. It was a thriving community, and it was just left. And I think that's sinful. The other thing is I share what was said earlier is that the snowstorm of Christmas, this is Buffalo. I lived through the blizzard of '77, October surprise, other snowstorms that occurred. This is Buffalo. It snows, and it's going to happen again. But we had to outsource recovery equipment like snowmobiles and the such. This is Buffalo. It snows here, and it's going to snow again, and we're still not prepared. I think that's just ridiculous that Buffalo isn't prepared for snow. We're known for snow, and we're not prepared for it.
Can I take the rest of my time? I think I can. Look, of course, we have a lot of other issues that need to be addressed. When I said the east side, that was part of it. The snow, our fire departments don't have the right equipment. They sent a bunch of trucks to a snowstorm and got stuck all over the place, and they couldn't even help themselves. We needed New York to come forth to help us a little. Of course, we have to address those issues. We need good equipment here. We need to invest in stuff that our teams out there that are first responders make sure they got what they need. We're here today talking about so many things. I could stay here all day and still not finish what Buffalo needs. But Buffalo needs people that know what's needed. I'm a builder by trade. Without the proper equipment, I cannot build some of the things that I have built, whether it's a church or a mosque. And I've worked on synagogues. I'm hoping to build one so I can say, hey, God, I'm on 3 sides. But listen, we need somebody that understands what Buffalo needs, the youth, the east side I keep talking about. But I got to talk about my neighborhood. They just took a portion of Delaware District and they feel abandoned. Don't feel abandoned. I live there. I'm going to make sure those little things we have to be addressed, I will listen. You can call me on my personal cell. So east side is my priority, but there's everybody that's in my community is going to be able to access me. Thank you.
Okay. This will be our final question, and then we're going to have time for the speeches at the end, the closing comments. So with that, again, wonderful questions, everybody. I wish we probably had 5 more hours. We might cover every one of them. However, the current council has been criticized for repeatedly violating New York open meetings law and for holding public meetings at times that are not accessible to most working-class Buffalonians. What steps would you take to make public meetings and hearings accessible to more residents?
I think follow the law is probably the only thing there is to say. If the law says that they should be open, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. And forcing that to happen is important. If there's supposed to be an access with 5 council members or more in a space, then we make that possible. That's it.
If you look on the back of, if you come see me in the room after, if you look at the back of one of my palm cards, the bottom bullet point is easily accessible government with an open door and open ears. That's because when I worked in the state assembly, I was a director of community relations. I didn't have the luxury of spending 6 months a year in Albany. I sat in an office in West Seneca, and all of the greatest people in Western New York came and brought me their problems. Didn't matter if you were a voter or not, Democrat or Republican. My job was to solve the problems that came up in your life day to day. And that's why government transparency and the League's mission of civic engagement are so important to me. So merely following the open meetings law isn't enough, because we can have meetings that comply with the law, but they're still going to be at 2 p.m., and that's because the current culture of the council and of government more broadly is of one that builds a wall between the people and government. And if you don't have access to your common council person, the ground floor of civic engagement, How can we ever expect to rebuild trust between the public and institutions in this city, in this state, and in this country? We know right now that faith in institutions is failing, and a big reason why I'm running is because I want to be part of a new generation of leaders with some of the people sitting up here in this front row that restores that trust. Thank you.
I absolutely believe in transparency. When you have secret meetings, your community and your public tends to distrust you. What do you have to hide? If the rule is they must be open, and let's abide by the rules, plain and simple. As the elected official, I have to answer to my voters. My voters have to trust me. I can't have secret closed-door meetings from them and them trust me at the same time. My thing is transparency, absolutely.
All of the above, plus. What happened to the old times where you were able to walk in City Hall without going through security, without going through the questions and answers where you're going? We should be accessible at all times. We should even be accessible within our districts, and even if your councilman is not accessible to you, I will be accessible to you. I will have weekly meetings if necessary in my community if they have an issue that needs to be addressed. I'm not going to sit in behind the desk and ignore what my constituents want, because you know what? They're my boss. Not Mr. Mayor, not the council. You are going to be my boss. You are going to be the one that's going to share with me what you think is best for your community. So accountability is what's needed here. We have a government that's running without accountability right now, and the answers are, oh, well, the mayor won't help or the council won't help. Listen, if they don't help, guess what? I'm going to come on your side, and I'm going to rally with you to make sure they do help. That's how we created Push Buffalo. Nobody wanted to help, so we rallied against Pataki. This house is violated by Pataki. Then the mayor got the property back. We went after the mayor. And guess what they did? Okay, what do you want? What do you need? We want to make our neighborhood better. And they started cooperating. And today, Push, I know they're sponsoring it, but I'm so proud of you. I hope that you spread a little further.
Okay, I'm just listening and enthralled. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. At this point now, we will move to the closing statements, and we will start in the reverse with Ms. Halton Pope and come this way. So you have 2 minutes now, and you take it.
Great. Well, I'm running to represent Ellicott because I believe in Ellicott. We have a unique opportunity to change how things work here in Buffalo overall. It's a new Ellicott, and the ideas, the concerns of constituents that I hear every day, from economic equity, from environmental equity, from housing equity, these are critical, and I do believe experience matters. Focusing on issues like access is critical to our constituencies as a whole. I believe we have a unique space where we can collectively, working together, change how things operate here in the city of Buffalo. That means talking to one another. That means focusing on the issues and supporting the differences of each neighborhood within the Ellicott district. Specifically, if you're in Elmwood Village, your desires and needs are the same, but the approach has to be different than Willard Park. If you're in Willard Park, your desires are the same, but the approach is going to be a little bit different than the Fruit Belt. Or if you're in Genesee Moselle or the business corridor of Jefferson or Michigan Street, all of our desires are the same. We want fair housing, whether it be as a renter or homeowner. You want to make sure that your neighborhoods are strong and thriving by having a strong business base and by having safe roads and safe streets. And I want to represent us. I believe I'm the best person to do that. And I think experience does matter, and having relationships isn't a bad thing, and understanding how laws work isn't a bad thing. You want somebody who understands how that works, but also has the compassion and the passion to move our city forward, and specifically in Ellicott, and I'm hoping to do that for you.
Experience. She's been with Crystal Peoples there for 10 years or so. And she's the majority leader. And what we got? We got a legalization of marijuana. Let me tell you something. I was the first volume out there speaking against the marijuana laws that were targeting our children. Experience. 8 to 10 years. Jefferson Avenue. What have you gotten? Anybody from Jefferson? Experience. I'll tell you what I gave you. Look at my website and you will find out how many locations I've rebuilt. Experience. I've known everybody from all the different communities, whether it's PUSH, Stop the Violence, MVP, Fathers, all of that. I've been working with them. Experience. I know what it takes. Experience. I'm the only one in this table that knows what it takes to really rebuild that community. Because I've had rebuilt it with the people that are living in it, and I am going to rebuild it with the same people that are still living in it. I'm not going to bring outsiders to come and clean up your community. I'm going to use you and your children to clean up your community. I'm going to make sure you get the money for the money that is utilized from our governments that is going to say patronage. No more patronage. It's our turn. It's the people's turn. It's your turn. It's your children's turn. And I got to say this to close my statement to the three candidates. You go back and advise your councilwoman what the district needs. You stick with your kids because they need you badly and you're doing a great job. And I don't know what you have done, Matt, but I have nothing bad to say about you, but you stick to what you've been doing.
Thanks,
and let me
Cindy.
do my job and clean up the east side.
As I started out with, I'm Cedric Holloway, and I'm your next Ellicott District Council member. So you as a voter, I want you to ask, not only what do you plan to do, but what have you done? Right? What have you done for your community? I've received several accolades for what I've done for my community, including President Barack Obama's Community Leadership Award, the Buffalo News Citizen of the Year, the Black Achievers twice, Community Award from the Majority Leader, 2 Cedric Holloway Days in the city of Buffalo. All of these things I've done not because I was being paid to do them, because I wasn't. My duty to my community runs deep. This is voluntarily. I do it because I love my community. And I continue to do it because I love my community. Plain and simple, you absolutely have to look at the history, your intent. I'm not a part of a machine. I'm not a part of a clique, a crew. I'm a part of my community. And I will continue to do for my community. The facility itself serves as a tool for me to be able to reach my community. On the 10th, come on down, we've got the Buffalo Bills teaching CPR to our community for free. On that very same day, me and Joanne Felicetta will have a press conference. We're having the Buffalo Philharmonic play for the first time on the east side of Buffalo. And I started this way before I decided to run for office. I did this because of the love for my community. And that's who you want as your next Ellicott District Council member, someone who loves their community.
My name is Matt Deering. I'm not going to tell you about all of the awards that I've won, the famous bosses that I've had, or feed you lines about change, even though I've had the opportunity to whisper in the ear of some of the most powerful people in this state, and you've watched your neighborhoods stay the same. If you want a new voice, you need a voice with ideas. You need a voice with a plan. To serve effectively in government, I think a person needs a coherent theory of government and how their office works, a long-term vision, and short-term goals that help to achieve that long-term vision. Think about the last hour of what you've heard here today, and think about which of the four of us have met those criteria. I think it's pretty clear after this that regardless of experience, awards, family connections, or relationships to the same people who have steered this ship so wrong over the course of the last generation, that if you want a new voice, if you want progress for the Ellicott District and a better future for the entire city of Buffalo, that I'm the best candidate in this race. Because it's not about me, it's about you. It's about your children, hopefully my grandchildren, and I'd love to see my great-grandchildren one day. And I want this city to be a place where I can watch all of them live, grow, make big achievements, and thrive. That's why I'm running for office. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to close, first of all, by thanking PUSH and your allied co-sponsors for inviting us to be here. It's been delightful. I live in the city, so all of these things are important to all of us. And your interest and your civility and your patience and your questions were greatly appreciated. It's been delightful for all, those of us from the League to be here with you. We hope we have more opportunities to do this again in different places. And I'm sorry that others weren't here. So at this time, join me again. These are folks that came out that are here to talk to you, whether you agree with them or not. It is what it is, so enjoy it. So let's give them another round.
It is what it is.